Guys, it's Mr. Champlin here. I would just like to go over types of parallelograms. If you do have the opportunity to print out this note sheet to follow along with me, I recommend it. We're going to be focusing on rectangles. Let's take a deep look at a rectangle. Um, Pretty much the rectangle it definitely is a parallelogram. The only thing that makes a difference is its angles and its diagonals. So let's take a look. And the first thing I want to notice is the the exact same concepts the rectangle has as the parallelogram. And the first concept is that opposite sides are parallel. So if you notice, AD is parallel to BC, and DC is parallel to AB, and I use the arrows as notation. All right, let's look at another property. The next property is opposite sides are congruent. Notice AD is congruent to BC, and I used a single slash, and AB is congruent to DC, and I used the double dashes. All right, and finally, let's look at the third property that they share. And finally, adjacent angles are 180 degrees, and that means that they are. Sorry, I don't know why that box is. There we go. That means they are supplementary. Uh, So that means that angle A plus D equals 180, angle A plus B equals 180, B plus C equals 180, and D plus C equals 180. Okay, so all three of these properties are the same exact as the parallelogram properties. But what makes these different? Well, let's look at the, the differences. The first difference is opposite angles are congruent, just like a parallelogram, except since they're 90 degrees, since they are 90 degrees, that means that they're all congruent. Do you see that? So they're all congruent. And also notice that adjacent angles are still equal 180 because if they're both 90 degrees, 90 plus 90 equals 180. So the first major difference with a rectangle than the parallelogram itself is that all angles are congruent. Now let's look at the other factor. Okay, and the final difference is with a normal parallelogram, bisecting diagonals bisect each other, creating two separate congruent segments. However, with a rectangle, all the segments are going to be congruent. Therefore, the entire diagonal is congruent to the other entire diagonal. Okay? So AC is going to be congruent to DB. So AC is congruent to DB, and that also means they still bisect each other. So that means this segment right here is going to be congruent to this segment, as well as they're going to be actually all the bisected segments are going to be congruent with each other. Okay, so what should you write in your notes? Let's take a look here. So in your property section in the table there, you should write for the rectangle that they contain all the parallelogram properties. The only difference is that all four angles are congruent, which means they are all 90 degrees, and the diagonals are congruent. Okay? I hope this video was informative and helped you out. If you do have any questions for me, Mr. Champlin, or Mrs. Gloss, feel free to contact us either on Google Classroom or email. Guys, stay safe, healthy, and enjoy your day.